Hey guys, this is Jonathan, and today I want to talk about the different types of knives that you can use in your diorama and action figure display making. So, the hobby knife is the most common knife, and these things are available everywhere. You can get them at Walmart or any craft store like a Michael's or Hobby Lobby or somewhere like that. Um, but the thing that I use the most is really, it's one of these, which is a snap-off style utility blade. And I'll get into that, why I use this here in a moment. So you have a normal piece of foam here, pink foam. This is what is most commonly used. You know, the hobby knife is great. You can cut a nice line and, do a gouge like that, and it'll come out nice and neat as long as the blade is sharp. Let's do another one. And I'm going fast, so this is kind of sloppy. Let's say I wanted to make stones here. We could make, it can handle this no problem. And really, the hobby knife is good for finer detail. Sometimes you just need the stiffness of the blade. If you want to turn this block into more of a rounded stone, you can achieve that effect with the hobby knife. But I would say it's a little bit easier to do with the other knife. And now I'm messing everything up here because I'm talking. There you go. But you get what I'm saying. So the thing with this knife is, number one, the blade is much, much longer, obviously. Also, there's flexibility here that you don't get at all with the hobby knife. The hobby knife is very, very stiff. So let's say you wanted to texture this surface with the knife. You wanted like a rough-hewn, carved look, kind of like that. So, you wanted that on the face of this rock, let's say. Well, you can get it with this knife up to there, but that's it. I mean, you might be able to do a little bit of this and, come around there. But when it came to getting to the middle of this, you could not angle the knife in such a way that you would be able to get that. Well, with this knife, it's not so much of a problem. Now, obviously, it'll reach in here because it's, it's long enough. But if it wasn't long enough, let's say this was 3 times the size, you couldn't get to that. This knife bends, so you can still manage to throw the texturing on there, even though you can't reach it with the normal knife. So, like, if you wanted to texture this whole piece, you can just literally take this thing. Now be careful, because this is sharp, and you're bending a knife, a very sharp blade, so you have to feel very, very comfortable doing this. And I would say go slow. I mean, I've been using one of these for a very long time now, so I'm extremely comfortable with it. But if you are prone to accidents, well, you know yourself better than I do, so don't do anything that you're not comfortable doing. Okay, so that's the basic issue with flexibility of the blade. The other thing is, because the knife blade is longer, you can do kind of a draw cut. So if you go to cut the side of this here, you have to kind of get to a certain speed, depending on how sharp the blade is, to keep the foam smooth like that. Because if you try to go too slow, you'll see this blade is very sharp, but you'll see it there. You see it kind of gets those little tears, and if this was dull, or even, halfway dull, you'd have a ton of these things in here. But what the longer blade does is it allows you to not just pull this way, but you're also pulling up on the blade as you're kind of sawing through. And because you're having that motion, it kind of actually acts like the blade is traveling faster than your hand is moving. So it gives you a much smoother cut overall. And you can kind of saw back in and reverse a little bit, but generally it is one direction like that, and you'd come out. But okay, another thing when you have the reach here is if you wanted to round one of the sides of this with this knife, you know, to come around here and, you know, let's say we wanted to make this give it a little life here, but we want it to be, you know, rounded. So you can get it eventually with lots of little cuts with this knife. You just chip away at it, and you can get, you know, a much more rounded sort of look. And I don't mean just necessarily round, but if you wanted totally round with this knife, obviously it's bigger, but just the motion you can get out of it really does, you know, a lot for making all different kinds of shapes. And you can see the blade bending there a little bit too, so you can throw the bend in to kind of get a different sort of look. But this is also how I achieve a lot of my kind of rocky looks. And when I work in things that look kind of like stone, it's often with this knife, because you can get kind of more of a natural feel and flow, because you're not, you know, choked up on the knife trying to get these, you know, little micro lines to look like a bigger line. You're actually getting that nice flow. So that's my comparison between these two knives. And like I said, this one definitely has its place for many things, but there is so much benefit to using this knife, in my opinion, and I don't see a lot of people using it, so I just wanted to point that out. Thanks for watching.